What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. Y'all hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. So I got a question for y'all that I actually saw from watching the Bag Fuel podcast that I watched the other day. Bag Fuel is the podcast with Heineken and Esso from they were previously on My Expert Opinion, which is Mav Hoffa's podcast, but then they left and started their own podcast called Bag Fuel. And so they asked, does personality sell more than actual music? Does personality sell music more than the actual music? And I believe so. It shouldn't. It shouldn't be the case, but I believe that personality sells music more than the actual music itself. Let me give y'all examples. Let's say DaBaby. Y'all remember when DaBaby first came out? Yes, he could rap. So I think you gotta have some skill and no, I'm not. No, sometimes you don't really have to have skill like that. Sometimes your swag and personality will sell some artists to people. I'm going to give you examples of those artists, but I'm gonna give you an example of DaBaby. DaBaby can rap. He always could rap. Now people said he had the same flow, but he could rap, right? But I'm telling y'all, his aura, he skyrocketed after everybody found out about that Walmart incident where he took somebody's life in a Walmart, right? And then when people saw the tough guy persona around him, he knocking people out, beating up on people, people became enamored with his personality. Like people like for rappers to be real tough, real aggressive. They like rappers that get on your ass real quick. And he was one of them dudes that was like that, right? And I believe he started to skyrocket when people started to seeing, oh man, he ain't nothing to play with. He ain't playing. He's stepping on everything out here. Especially young fans and young girls, they get enamored with that type of stuff, right? But then his personality backfired. So you remember when he did that thing at, was it Rolling Loud, when he was talking about if you ain't got no HIV, put your hands in the air, all of that. People started to see his personality as like a character flaw. Then he was arrogant and obnoxious, right? Which I thought it was silly for him to say if you ain't got no HIV, because what? Why are you alienating a certain group of your fan base? For what? Like, you know what I mean? Making people that got HIV, making them seem like they dirty and they foul. You know what I mean? When that's not always the case. People sleep with one person and unprotected and get HIV. People are born with HIV. You know what I mean? So I thought it was foolish and very childish. And people that was making excuses for that, I'm like, bro, like, he's not smart. Like, that's, I mean, that wasn't smart for him to do. I'm not calling him dumb. That wasn't smart for him to do when he did that. But then when women saw how he treated the mother of his daughter, DaniLeigh, when they saw that, a lot of the women fan base, they backed away from him. And then when they saw him diss Megan Thee Stallion and reveal that he slept with her, a lot of people thought it was corny and they stepped away from him, right? So even though he was still making some good music, quality music, people wasn't trying to run and hear it. They wasn't running to pay for him to perform they wasn't trying to get him to perform at certain places. People wasn't trying to book him as much because they saw the personality and say, you know what, we ain't really finna be streaming his music like we did once before. We not gonna be running to hear him. We're not gonna be running to play his music now because we see how his personality is. It turned a lot of people off when they saw how arrogant and obnoxious he can be, right? Another artist, for example, The Game. The Game is a phenomenal rapper, extraordinary rapper. Right? Now, it didn't hurt The Game initially because when Game first came out, we didn't have social media and all that type of stuff to really see an artist's personality outside of the interviews they do. But even in interviews, Game would say a lot of corny stuff already. Like, if you watch interviews enough and you were really like, you know what I mean? YouTube was in its beginning stages when The Game's career first began. Right? But now we see how he is and how corny he can be and how over the top he could be and how just a lot of just attention seeking he can be. And it turns a lot of people off from his music and people want to dismiss him immediately because of his personality, right? And I think if his personality was more endearing, people would probably gravitate to it more. Now, I'm not saying he would just sell millions of records because his time has passed as being like the focal point of music. But I think I'm honestly, for real, I think if people would be inclined to listen a little more if they weren't so if his personality wasn't so off-putting. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give y'all another example of personality. Because I don't know how the hell French Montana's career was able to be so as big as it is. Nothing French says is interesting. That's probably the most interesting thing French ever said. And that ain't even that moving. I've never been a French Montana fan. I've never understood his meteoric rise. I don't know, maybe you got to be from New York to understand it. But I always tell people, when you got to be from a certain region to understand music, it just ain't really hitting on nothing. A great artist can transcend all type of like coast, all type of coast affiliations, and no, you should be able to be, if you dope, people should appreciate your music no matter what coast you're on, Midwest, East Coast, West Coast, South. You know what I mean? People should just be like, yo, this is a dope artist. French ain't never been dope to me, and a lot of people I know feel the same way. But I think his personality and him having all this charisma, and I don't think he got that much charisma, but you know, people think he has a lot of charisma. Well, he got charisma with women because he get a lot of girls. So maybe people see his personality with the women and how he come across in interviews, how he always got jewelry on, and how he always looked like he got a lot of money, and he's flashy, he got the bravado, he's braggadocious. People gravitate, I guess they gravitated to that. When you look like you getting it, when you look like you the dude in hip hop, when you look like you got a lot of money, when you look like the spotlight is on you, people would be like tricked into thinking, oh, his music got to be hot. You feel me? The hottest song French Montana did by himself without a feature was Shot Caller. Other than that, I don't understand it, but personality, I guess his mystique has sold him. You feel me? More than his actual music. Because French Montana be having 20-minute, I guess people be like, some people are so intrigued by his music because of the guest features, because he be having 4 guest features on a song, and he probably have a 20-minute verse. 15-20-second verse that people don't even remember, but they remember a sample or a hook or a verse from another artist on a song. But he's still been able to be around and about. He bought that song Unforgettable from Jeremiah. He bought that song that Jeremiah wrote, but Sway Lee sold that song or whatever. But I'm like, how is he still in position to be even being relevant in the rap game? Because he never was good, right? Another example of personality selling an artist, or personality selling music more than actual music, is Jadakiss. I think Jadakiss should have sold way more than he has. You feel me? But Kiss's personality in interviews, he's not overly charismatic in interviews. He's not like, if he had a personality, maybe even like a Nori. Like, y'all know Nori is a funny dude. Well, honestly, Nori's personality didn't help him. But okay, Jadakiss is a phenomenal rapper, and he's had some hit records. I ain't saying he got #1 singles all across the board like Drake or somebody like that, but he's had hit records. And what Jadakiss say, why I make the hottest ish, but why I say the hottest ish, but be selling the least? He said that on the song Why with Anthony Hamilton. And I believe it's because he didn't have that allure that Dipset and Jewels and Cameron and them had. You know, they had a different type of charisma and, I don't know, energy around them that felt more youthful than Kiss. I don't know if it's because Kiss had the bald head and we associated bald head stuff. We associated bald head to like older guys, even though Jalen Rose and Fab Five had bald heads all in college. You know what I'm saying? So they had bald heads all in college. I don't know. And then, but I don't know. Kiss he didn't never feel as young as he was. You feel me? Like, until the world saw his on stage performance. That's what I'm saying. When they did that verses and they saw Kiss's personality and the Lox personality, I think people like, damn, these dudes. And I think the songs resonated better, especially amongst the youth, when they saw their performance and their bravado on stage. I always thought Kiss was dope. But I don't know, maybe if Kiss had a personality like 50, if he had a certain, or like, you know what I mean, then maybe he could have sold more. Because honestly, the songs was hits. And maybe if he had a more, I don't know, charismatic personality in these interviews, it would have helped the music. And I'm going to be real, sometimes it does help. When I see artists, because I've been watching The Breakfast Club since 2012. When I see artists come on The Breakfast Club and I see their persona, when I see how they come across in interviews, sometimes it made me want to, especially if I never heard the artist, if I think they a cool person, and I think they probably, oh man, he got a dope personality, he fun. He was like, he a fun-spirited person. She's a fun-spirited young lady. She seemed real cool. She seemed real humble. She seemed real down to earth. Vice versa for if it's a guy artist, you be like, yo, let me check out what they talking about. Let me check out their music, man. And sometimes you stay for that. Honestly, you feel me? Well, I don't know. I think people are intrigued by Vince Staples' personality. But I don't know if Vince will probably be selling that whole lot. But yeah, I think his personality, sometimes people just want to run to see what he's saying in interviews. And they will probably buy his album based upon how charismatic, how funny he is, how just comedy filled he is at times. Even though he got some dope records, but you know what I mean? Like he not mainstream at all. But I think people become intrigued with him based upon how funny he is in these interviews and how he says some things that resonates with a lot of people. And he says things that sometimes people want to say, but just don't say it. You know what I mean? How he be calling out these record executives and talking about, you know, the differences between black artists and white fan bases and black fan bases and all of that. You know what I mean? So I do believe personality sells music more than actual music at times. It's people who like the fact that Sexyy Red is just raunchy and uncut and unfiltered. And they run to that because sometimes Sexyy Red reminds them of some girls in their neighborhood that they grew up with, or some girls, it reminds them, some girls just want to be that type of personality where they don't give a you know what come out their mouth. They don't give a you know what, how people perceive it. They want to walk in that ilk, but they can't, and so they probably look at Sexyy Red to be the person that they, I'm not saying as sexual as she is, but you know what I mean, as I guess free-spirited as she is, you know what I mean? I look at certain other artists. I'm trying to think of other artists. It was people that looked at 50 like that. 50 had dope music and is phenomenal hook maker, so the music sold itself for sure. But his persona of being a street dude that you should mess with, he seemed to not be fearful of any situation. He got shot all them times. He seemed like he was a dude that walked around literally like he had an S on his chest, like he said on What Up Gangsta. For real, he had that type of bravado, that type of spirit about him, you know, and it people were drawn to him because of that, you know what I mean? And so the music was dope, 100%. So the music, in most cases, the music gotta sound like something. French Montana, hell no. Even Sexyy Red. Now I do like that ski, whatever that song, that was a little hard. But you know, I don't really like Sexyy Red music for real. But people still gravitate to it. I don't know if it's the beat or what, but most of the time the music gotta sound like something. It gotta sound like something for people to gravitate to. But if you got a certain persona around you, it will become magnetic, you know, and people will just run to it. So I do believe personality sells. If you got a dull personality at times, I don't think you can go as far as you want to go. Sometimes you dull and you just, well, I'm gonna say this. Jay-Z's not the most exciting individual in interviews. He's not. But I think his flossing, the way he flossed, the way he sold that mafioso mystique, the way he sounded like he was doing stuff way more expensive than anybody else, the way he would brag about drinking Cristal, the way he would talk about the clothes and the private jets, it sold an aura like, oh, you know, this dude is about the finer things. This dude is selling a life of luxury to us. This dude is selling like, yeah, he's selling luxury. He's selling a lifestyle to us. The same way Ross sells luxury to us. His music always sounds like luxurious trap music. Now the music is dope. His beat selection is impeccable. The way he flows on songs, the delivery. I think Ross is a phenomenal rapper. But I do believe the mystique of him and how he's in his mansion and he's showing all these businesses and you feel me, how, you know, he's always showing that he's a businessman and he's showing the jewelry, the clothes and the being on yachts and boats and having a good time at parties. People like, yo, he's a fun person to be around. He seems like he's just a real all around cool person to some people. Now some people be like, yo, he still was a CO. He still was in their eyes a law enforcement in some type of way. But to a lot of people, he sold their luxurious lifestyle to people the way they clung to it. You know what I'm saying? I believe even Master P now Master P had hits, but the way he was coming with them camouflage on, them tanks, the jewelry, they all look like they was getting money. They all look like they was happy to hit the booth. Yeah, sometimes I believe P's personality, his charisma, and how he presented himself, it made up for sometimes his verses not being that good. It made up for it sometimes, you know what I mean? And the fact that he had some dope rappers with him like Mystical, Mia X, Fiend, Mac, etc. You know what I mean? He had some dope artists with him for sure. C Murder, all of that too. But you know, I do believe sometimes when he had lackluster verses, the lifestyle that P was selling and how he came across as a CEO, how he came across as a dude trying to feed the ghetto, how he came across as a dude trying to get opportunities to everybody in the ghetto, and as a dude who came from nothing, people gravitated to that persona. You know what I mean? So yeah, and I speak about back to Jadakiss. If Kiss and them was dressing, I mean, I guess Harlem dudes, people call Harlem new. I don't know. I'm not from New York. Maybe people feel like Harlem dudes feel like they flying in everybody. Is Harlem the fashion capital of New York City? If they would have had a certain type of more youthful persona, Jadakiss and the Lox, maybe they would have sold better. Even though I feel like Kiss is a better rapper than all of them, even though I think Cam is really dope too and underrated at times, and Jewels was dope, but Kiss is a better rapper than them. Styles P too, and they never got that same acclaim as Cam and them. So I do think personality helps.